Today, I'm going to show you how I made this presentation with a simple AI agent in NAN. I was able to give this agent a really simple prompt which helped generate me a slide deck to match my brand's colors, mission, and services. So as you can see, it's actually generated a really good slide deck with images. It's laid out really well, graphs as well even, and has also incorporated how my brand Inovio fits into this slide deck, which is all about the history and evolution of artificial intelligence. This is something you'd actually expect to take quite a few hours to make, but just with a simple prompt, this was made within a couple minutes. So this can be a really good tool and useful for any brand that wants to quickly create slide decks specifically for their company. Before I actually hop over to NAN to show you guys how to build this, if this is something you'd be interested in to have at your company, then just head over to the link in the description to go to Inovio, my company's website, and we can help build this for your company. Okay, heading over to NAN now. As you can see, it's actually a really simple setup to get this all working. So we have one workflow here, which is an AI agent to help create the prompts for the slides. And then this triggers a tool for another workflow to help generate those slides, which can be seen here. So this is the workflow that we're going to use to actually send off all the API calls to help create our slides and then bring those slides back down to NAN. So seeing in real time actually how this works, we can go ahead and open the chat and ask the agent to build us something. So I'm going to go ahead and ask the chat to create me a slide deck similar to the one I showed you, a presentation on the history of AI and how Inovio, my company, fits into this history. So I've just written up that prompt there to send off to the chat. So we'll go ahead and send that. And as you can see, it's got the AI agent working now, and it's triggering all the necessary tools or model or memory. And it's going to send off our prompt to this workflow that I just showed you earlier. Okay, amazing. That's come back to us with a slide deck, which we can view at this link here. So if we copy that, so I've just gone ahead and pasted that URL into the bar here. And as you can see, it's generated us a really good presentation. It's laid out really well. The graphics really good. It's even generated some really cool images, figures, some more cool images here, and how the business, my business, Inovio, fits into this timeline. It's even included some specific about my business and how we kind of approach developing our solutions at Inovio. So yeah, this is a really cool presentation and could be really useful for your company. Okay, going back over to NAN now, let's break down how we actually build this whole workflow. So the first node you want to put in is a chat node here, which allows the agent to take in a message from the user about what slide deck they want to generate. Then connected to this chat node, we actually have our AI agent, which we can go ahead and click. And you can see the source of prompt is the connected to chat trigger node. So that's connected to the user's message, which we would have just sent to the AI agent. And then going down into the options tab, we actually want to add a system message here. And this system message is to help instruct the agent on the brand and some information on the brand and how we're going to generate these slide decks appropriately. So as you can see in the prompt I've pulled up for this AI agent, it's got a few different things that are included in here. So it's got its role, it's got brand guidelines, brand colors, brand tone of voice, mission statements, culture, visual identity. It's also got what the AI agent's objective actually is, rules, some examples. So this is all quite key to help you generate as accurate a slide decks as possible. Now, depending on what type of input you're expecting, this can vary from fixed or to be in an expression. So if it's fixed, it means that no values in here are changing, and this can remain static the whole time. But if it's an expression, you may have variables and values that are changing. For example, maybe you want to generate slide decks for various different companies, so you can drag and drop the names of those companies into there. But for this scenario, we're going to keep it on fixed. So that's all for this AI agent module. Then, as with every other AI agent, we've got to connect a model, and we've got optional memory and tool additions as well. So for the model here, you can actually attach whatever model you want, but I've just gone ahead and connected my OpenAI chat model. I've chosen the GPT 4.1 mini, but you can go ahead and choose whatever model you want here. Then we've also gone ahead and connected a simple memory. So this is connected to the chat trigger node. It's got a context window of 5, which should be fine for most situations you're going to be in. And then heading on over to the most important part of this workflow really is the tool that we've attached. So if we go ahead and click on this workflow, this is actually the tool that goes off to send our final prompt to go ahead and create our slide deck. In the description bar here, you want to put in a pretty basic description for the AI agent to know when to use this tool. So in the description here, we've put, call this tool when the prompt has been finalized for the creation of the presentation slides. You must ensure this prompt is 4 to 5 sentences long and is very detailed to create the best presentation for the user. Now, this tool is actually a trigger workflow tool. So when this tool is used, it causes another workflow somewhere else in our NAN space to get triggered. So as you can see here, we've got a workflow called Gamma App Slide Creator, which gets triggered. And obviously we haven't created that. So we're going to come back to this. But first we need to go and create that workflow to trigger. So you want to go on over to create another workflow here. You can call it whatever you want. I've called it the Gamma App Slide Creator. And your first node is going to want to be the when executed by another workflow node. So go ahead and click on that. And as you can see, we've got a workflow input schema. So this is basically describing what inputs we're expecting to receive from the other agent when that tool is triggered. For us, all we really need is going to be the slide prompts to send off to Gamma to create our presentation slides. Okay, amazing. Now that we've got that first workflow there, we can go back over to our main AI agent workflow and we can fill in the rest of the tool. Going back to our AI agent here, we've got the workflow inputs that we had before. So as you saw, we put in the slide prompt, which we're expecting to receive from our next workflow. And we're actually going to let AI define that automatically. And just as a bit of a description or a side note for the prompt, which will get sent off to our API call, we want to put in here, don't include any new lines or code that will mess up the API call. So if it comes in a bit of a weird format or something, this could mess up our prompt and give us a bad slide deck back. Okay, perfect. That's all set up now. So this part of the workflow is all finished and we can head on over back to the creating slides and workflow to actually send off our prompt to go and create a new slide deck. Now, the next part of that Gamma App Slide Creator workflow that we just made is we want to put in a HTTP request. And all this request is going to be doing is sending off an API request, a post request to Gamma to create our new slide deck. So heading on over to Gamma's API documentation, we can find all the necessary information that we need to fill out that HTTP module. So here we actually have the endpoint, which we can go ahead and copy over. So this is going to be for a post request, which is what we want as we're sending information over to Gamma. And then scrolling down, we can actually find the body of the JSON that we're going to be sending off. And you can see there's actually 2 required parameters here. Although when I first created this workflow, it was only an input text that you needed, and it actually still works if you do that. So it looks like this text mode must have been an update that Gamma has implemented relatively recently. So you can see if I adjust this here, it has populated this call request over here. So this is pretty much what we're going to be copying over to our HTTP request to send off our slide prompt. If we scroll down a little bit further, we can actually see there are also some important parts here that we need to incorporate, and these are our headers. So our content type, which is application JSON, and our API key, which I'm going to show you how to go and get now. Now, it's actually really simple to create a API key over in Gamma. You just create an account, go over to your settings and members part here, go onto API keys, and then go ahead and hit create API key. And it's really simple. You can name it whatever you want. So I've named mine NAN here. And it's really easy to set up. Heading back over to NAN now to our HTTP module, we're just going to go ahead and fill out all of these parts that we need the information for that we got from the Gamma API documentation. So scrolling down here, we just want to add our header parameters, so content type, and that is application/JSON, and then name here, accept, and then application JSON. And then we do want to send a body as well, and that's going to be JSON content type. And the input text is going to be the parameter that we want to send off. And we're going to go ahead and drag and drop our slide prompt here, which we don't have yet as we haven't run anything. But once we run that module previously, we're going to have something to drag and drop into there. Let's go ahead and add your API key in. We're going to go ahead and hit the pencil icon here, put in x-api-key, and then copy your API key, which you have just generated over in Gamma, into this box here. Once that's done, we're actually fully authenticated now to go ahead and send our slide prompts over towards Gamma. So all you need to do to get this value here to populate this area is we need to go back over to our other workflow, go ahead and open the chat and actually run this workflow, and it will trigger this tool, and then that will give you the input fields that you can drag and drop into that box. Okay, back to our slide creator workflow now. Our HTTP module is actually pretty much completed. So now we actually want to put in a wait module here for 60 seconds, as it takes some time for Gamma to generate the presentations. I found that 60 seconds is a pretty good time, consistent time you have to wait. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer, sometimes it takes a little bit less, but 60 seconds is usually always sufficient. Okay, now that we've got that wait module in and our AI presentation should have generated, now we want to put in another HTTP request, now an API GET request, to go ahead and get that presentation from Gamma. So if we go ahead and click on here, we can see there are a few different fields we actually need to fill out. So we need a URL, which you go and find in the Gamma documentation, and some various different authentication types, which we're going to get from our Gamma API. And we can actually find all the information that we need here in the Gamma API documentation. Going on to the documentation, we want to go onto the Receive Generated File URLs tab, and this is going to be our GET request, which is the one we want. So we want to go ahead and copy this endpoint here, back over into URL over here. And then after, we have a JSON parameter, which we're going to drag and drop here. But as we've got no previous nodes, we can't actually do that. But like I said before, for the other HTTP module, once we run the workflow, we will have things that we can drag and drop over here. So this parameter is actually going to be the generation ID. So it's going to be the ID of the slide deck we've just generated. The authentication process is the exact same as before, so select all of these values and connect to your Gamma API. You won't even need to do all this again for the API part, because you would have already done it for the last HTTP module. And then once that's done, that's pretty much all the steps that we need to create a slide deck and then get it back from Gamma. So we can hop on over back to our AI agent, which will actually receive the presentation that we created, as this is a workflow that has been triggered by that agent originally. So that's it. Those are all the modules and workflows you need to put together to generate these presentations at the click of a finger. You can go ahead and test this out now and type in whatever you want to. And again, like I mentioned at the start, you can adjust your AI agent prompt to match whatever brand it is you want to match for. So I've done it for my brand, but you can change this for whatever you want it to be. So go ahead, try this out. Hopefully you can create some really cool presentations. And if this is something that you'd like for us to develop at your company, hit the link in the bio to go to our website.